Hi, everyone, I'm Diana. I said, collapsing onto Sarah's office couch like the weight of the world had dropped onto my shoulders. Girl, you won't believe what happened at the family dinner last night. Sarah, ever the composed legal consultant who's heard it all, raised an eyebrow. Drama alert. Spill it, honey. What did the princess do this time? I groaned, the memory of last night's chaos still fresh. Rebecca, I said, the name dripping with disdain. My brother Mark's new wife was a walking storm in designer heels. She had the audacity to ask about Mom's jewelry collection. You know, the one Mom and I spent over 20 years building together. Sarah's face softened. Diana. I know, I said, my voice cracking just a little. It's only been 2 years since we lost Mom, but it still feels like yesterday. That collection, every single piece, has a story. Birthdays, anniversaries, those mother-daughter shopping trips Mom and I used to love. Sarah nodded, letting me have my moment before she prompted, let me guess. Rebecca zeroed in on something. I sighed, rubbing the wedding ring I never take off. Mom's sapphire pendant, the one she wore to my college graduation. Rebecca couldn't stop staring at it during dinner. You better keep those pieces locked up tight, Sarah warned, her lawyerly tone sharp. I'm already ahead of you. Aunt Linda called me this morning, practically in a panic. Diana, don't let that girl anywhere near your mother's things, she said. Something's not right about her. Sarah folded her arms. Your aunt's got good instincts. Has Rebecca always been this? Curious. Oh, please. The first time Mark brought her around, within 10 minutes she was asking about family heirlooms and vintage pieces. Her words, not mine. Before Sarah could respond, my phone buzzed. Another text from Mark. I held up the screen for her to see. Rebecca really loved meeting everyone. She was wondering if she could see Mom's jewelry collection sometime for inspiration. Inspiration? Sarah echoed, incredulous. This has been nonstop since their wedding 3 months ago. Mom's barely gone, and my voice faltered. Sarah cut me off, her tone firm. Listen, Diana, don't let anyone pressure you about those pieces. They're your connection to your mom. I know, but Mark's not himself anymore. He used to be my protective big brother, but now, it's like she's got him under some kind of spell. Last week, she even told Aunt Linda that some of Mom's jewelry would have been perfect for her wedding dress. Sarah leaned forward, deadly serious now. Your mom left those pieces to you, Diana. I've got the documentation to prove it. I nodded, fiddling with Mom's ring. Sometimes I sit in her old room, looking at her jewelry box, remembering how she'd get ready for date nights with Dad. She'd let me try on her pearls and tell me the story behind every piece. Those moments. Sarah reached out, giving my hand a squeeze. That's exactly why you need to protect them. Trust me, Diana. I've seen Rebecca's type before. In my line of work, we call them collectors of other people's treasures. I didn't realize then just how right Sarah was, or how much worse things were about to get. It all came to a head 2 weeks later. I just need to borrow it for one night, Diana, Rebecca purred, her eyes locked on Mom's diamond necklace. It's our 1-month wedding anniversary dinner. I hesitated, the words caught in my throat. Mark stood behind her, his expression a mix of pleading and impatience. Come on, sis, he urged. Mom would have wanted the family to enjoy these pieces, right? Against my better judgment, I relented. That was my first mistake. 2 weeks after that, Rebecca was back. The emerald earrings would be perfect for the charity gala, she cooed. Then it was the ruby bracelet for a work event. Each time, Mark pushed harder, making me feel like the unreasonable one. You've changed since we got married, Mark snapped at me one day. You've become so possessive. I bit my tongue, trying to keep the peace. But everything exploded at Aunt Linda's birthday gathering. When Rebecca walked in, my jaw dropped. She was wearing Mom's diamond necklace, the same one she'd borrowed weeks ago. But that wasn't even the worst part of this gorgeous piece. Rebecca gushed to our cousins, her fingers brushing the diamond necklace around her neck. It's been in Mark's family for generations. His grandmother wore it at her wedding. I nearly choked on my drink. Excuse me? I said, my voice sharper than I intended. That necklace was a gift from Dad to Mom for their 20th anniversary. I was there when he gave it to her. Rebecca's smile didn't falter, but her eyes narrowed. Diana, honey, are you feeling okay? You've seemed confused lately. She turned to Mark with a mock-concerned expression. Didn't you tell me your grandmother left these pieces specifically for the eldest son's wife? Mark shuffled uncomfortably. Well, technically nothing. I exploded, unable to hold it in any longer. Those are Mom's pieces, she left them to me. The room fell silent. Rebecca's eyes filled with perfectly timed tears as she turned to Mark. I'm just trying to honor family traditions, she sniffed. Mark, she's scaring me. Later that night, as I sat in Mom's room, I discovered more pieces missing from her collection. The pearl earrings, the sapphire ring. Gone. My heart raced as I called Mark in a panic. His response floored me. Maybe you should see someone, Diana. First, the scene at Aunt Linda's, and now these accusations. Rebecca's worried about you. We all are. Worried about me? Your wife is stealing Mom's jewelry? Mark's tone hardened. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Rebecca would never steal. Maybe you're just having trouble letting go. I hung up, my hands shaking, and immediately called Sarah. They're gaslighting me, I cried. My own brother is making me feel like I'm losing my mind. Document everything, Sarah said firmly. Take photos of what's left. We might need them. The final straw came when I learned Rebecca was spreading rumors. Poor Diana, she'd say, shaking her head in fake sympathy. She's been so unstable since her mom's death. She's making up these wild stories about the jewelry. Mark's really worried about her mental health. That night, sitting alone in my room, I looked at the half-empty jewelry box. Tears stung my eyes as I touched the few pieces I had left. I won't let them take you from me, Mom, I whispered. I promise. Then Tom texted me. We need to talk about Rebecca. This isn't the first time she's done something like this. My hands trembled as I typed back. What do you mean? Meet me tomorrow. There's something you need to know about your brother's wife. You're not going to believe this. The next day, at the coffee shop, Tom slid his phone across the table. That's Rebecca, he said, his voice low, except back then she went by Rachel Bennett. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding as I scrolled through the old news articles. 3 ex-boyfriends, missing family heirlooms, manipulated bank accounts, mysterious online sales. She's got a thing for grieving families, Tom explained. She gets close to someone who's lost a parent, works her way into the family, and then, he shrugged grimly. Mark's not her first target, just her first successful marriage. How did you find this? Remember Steve from cybersecurity? He did some digging. Your sister-in-law has quite the digital footprint. Check the next link. My stomach dropped. There, on an exclusive auction site, was Mom's sapphire ring. The description read, Vintage European cut, family heirloom. Serious collectors only. That's not even the worst part, Tom continued. She's drowning in debt. Maxed out credit cards, a shopping addiction. She's been using Mark's accounts to cover it up. I called Sarah immediately. Within an hour, she had Rebecca's financials. 5 aliases in 3 states, Sarah confirmed. And get this, there's an outstanding warrant for her arrest in Colorado, under the name Rachel. That night, I found more listings online. Mom's emerald earrings, the pearl necklace, all being sold under different accounts with elaborate fictional descriptions. I've got her banking records, Sarah said over the phone. She's been laundering money through these sales for years. This goes way deeper than we thought. Tom texted again later. Mark's starting to ask questions. Rebecca came home with a new Gucci bag she can't explain. Let him start pulling that thread himself. The family dinner was already planned for the next week. Perfect, I said, touching Mom's wedding ring, the one piece Rebecca hadn't managed to steal. Time to end this, Mom's way. Everyone's in position, Sarah texted as I set the table. Rebecca swanned in, wearing Mom's diamond necklace, playing the perfect hostess. Oh, Aunt Linda. What's that old album you brought? Just some family memories, dear, Aunt Linda replied, her smile razor sharp. Actually, I'd love to share these photos now. She opened the album and pointed. Here's my sister wearing this exact necklace on the day she bought it. Rebecca's face twitched. That's impossible. This is a family heirloom. Funny you should mention family, Tom interjected, pulling out his laptop. Because I've got some interesting family photos too. Different name, different hair color. But definitely you, right? The police in Colorado would love to know you're going by Rebecca now. Rachel. What is this? Mark demanded, his face pale. But his voice wavered. I recounted, looking at Sarah as she nodded knowingly. Before Mark could respond, Jason stepped in from the hallway. Rebecca, or should I say Rachel, turned ghost white. "Remember me, Rachel," Jason said, his voice calm but sharp. "Or was it Rita when you cleaned out my grandmother's estate?" The room erupted into chaos as Sarah, Tom, and Aunt Linda laid out the evidence like seasoned prosecutors in a courtroom. Sarah presented the banking records, pointing out the trail of deceit. Tom showed the online listings, scrolling through page after page of Mom's jewelry, each piece painstakingly described for auction. Aunt Linda flipped through receipts and certificates of authenticity, her voice steady with righteous fury. "It's all lies," Rebecca shrieked, backing toward the door. But Mark wasn't listening to her anymore. He was staring at his phone, scrolling through their joint account with a devastated expression. "Our savings," his voice broke. "Gone." Sarah delivered the final blow, along with half your mom's jewelry collection, sold piece by piece online. Rebecca's defiance cracked. "You don't understand," she pleaded, her eyes darting around the room. She turned to Mark, her voice dripping with desperation. "Baby, they're turning you against me." Mark didn't move. "And like you turned him against me," I said, standing tall. "Made him think I was crazy. Unstable." At that moment, the police arrived. Sarah had coordinated everything, the warrants, the fraud charges, the identity theft. It was all over. 2 months later, I sat in Sarah's office, signing the final paperwork. Most of Mom's pieces had been recovered, returned by buyers who had unknowingly purchased stolen goods. Mark, however, was another story. He lost his executive position when the scandal broke. Turns out companies don't like their VPs married to convicted fraudsters. He called me multiple times, left messages asking for forgiveness, claiming he'd been manipulated. I declined every call. As I touched Mom's ring, the one piece Rebecca never got her hands on, I whispered to myself, "Some betrayals you don't come back from." The headlines were a brief flurry of justice. Serial scammer sentence. Multiple victims speak out against grieving family con artist. Rebecca, or Rachel, or Rita, or whatever her real name was, got 8 years behind bars. More victims came forward, exposing just how deep her schemes ran. Last I heard, Mark was living in a cramped studio apartment, his career and reputation in tatters. He'd chosen her lies over his own family and nearly cost me my mother's legacy. So now I ask you, what would you do if your sibling chose a toxic spouse over you? Could you forgive them after they helped steal precious memories of a deceased parent?